A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention's very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world, so others may benefit.
Welcome back to a World Game Changers podcast. I am your guest host, Bob Conlin. I am a professional certified coach with the International Coach Federation, relationship champion, father, a husband, and lover of all things through the lens of relationship. Today, I'm super excited to connect with Bee-Bowman. I met Bee through our coach training organization that we both got trained through. How long ago were you trained, Bee?
2017.
Yeah. So I started 2016. So I was just before you. And there's times in life where you meet certain people, and then there's just like an immediate connection there. And I've always felt that way with Bee, and I know my wife has as well. And Bee was just such a beautiful force of support and comfort and nurturing for us when we were working through our traumatic pregnancy to bring our miraculous son into the world. So again, I'm just super happy to have Bee here with us. Bee, like I said, she's a coach. She's also a healthcare provider, a registered nurse. And I have her here today to talk about her relationship to service. She visited Africa, Kenya. Is it Kenya?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenya in 2012, and saw a need there, saw an opportunity to be of service to help the children there, not only to receive education, but to also to receive safety, to receive a way out of their challenging circumstances. And she has since created a nonprofit called Sponsors for Kenya, and has opened up a school that now has over 200 students attending. So she's created a school and orphanage, and it's constantly growing. There's constantly like a call for support, and there's so many wonderful things happening. So very good to have you here, Bee. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So one of the, when I was thinking about our time today, one of the questions that came up for me is what happened inside of you when you went to visit, you visited there during your nursing clinicals, right?
I did, but that was in 2009, and then I went back in 2012.
Got it. So something stirred in you when you originally went there, and you felt called to be of service in a way. Like what? Can you share a little bit about that experience?
Well, I think the main thing was that I traveled with a group of 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, when we were there, every single day, all of them would say, "Oh, it's so awful. It's terrible. What's happening here?" And they still had no drive to do anything about it.
Mm.
They had their 2-week volunteer trip, and then they decided to go home and nothing more. Every day when I sat on the bus on the way back to where we were staying, I kept thinking, I wonder what we could do if we purchased that piece of land that was for sale on the side of the road, or what could happen if we gave this woman $100, or what could happen if we provided safe housing for 10 women. So already there, I kept thinking of ideas, or at that time they weren't even ideas, they were just thoughts.
Yeah
Because of course I couldn't do anything. It was Kenya and I'm just me, so what was I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just grew from there.
Yeah So that's such a good point. Like I think there's be the change you want to see in the world, right? I love that saying. And here you have this experience of your classmates, like just reinforcing the narrative that, oh, this is really tough, this is hard, God, pour them, and you're here like, oh, I wonder how we could actually make the difference. Do you have a sense of what was inside of you that like where did that voice come from? Is that just something that you've always had, or where did that part of you come from?
Well, I know that I had it already when I was 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being in daycare and I couldn't finish the meal that was in front of me. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, they had plated too much. And my teacher said, "Well, think of the poor children in Africa." And immediately I
Let's
said,
shame
"Well,
you into finishing this. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah." So I say at 3 or 4 years old, "Can we wrap it up and send it to them?"
Wow.
Because I didn't know that Africa was quite far away because I was 3.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it was already there. Instead of this teacher trying to shame me, I already had a solution. Well, I can share because I can't finish my meal. So how about someone else can have it?
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that story, right? And there's no constraints, right? There's no, like, it's just very logical. Like, oh, here's someone in need. They can have what I don't need. Like, let's give it to
Mhm.
them, right? And then, and like that's such a innocent, beautiful, childlike response, right? And it's also, it can be that easy. That can be the solution, right?
Right.
And then I think oftentimes too, like as adults, or we lose the simplicity of that. We make it harder, or we make it more about logistics, or, well, how difficult it might be to achieve something as extraordinary as you have been able to achieve. Um, yeah, super cool. So it sounds like this was just a natural trait, or that you were like born with this way of being, or born with this lens of looking at service in a particular way.
Right. And I think that's from how I grew up, that there was always a solution.
Mm,
My parents would always say there are no problems, there are only, difficulties that we look to overcome.
mm.
So that's how I grew up. So of course there was no problem in, you know, doing whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, cool. How do you see like that? I love what you just said, like there's no problems, only solutions. Or, in my coaching work, I'm like, even in our hardest times, if we choose to look, there's an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity, there's some gold here, there's some wisdom to lean into, or there's a way of being to practice, or an action to take. Like how does that impact your coaching, like with the clients that you also work with?
Well, I think I can see beyond their limitations. And I think that's a general coach trait,
Hmm.
that when we hear someone say, "Well, I want to do this, but there's no way because this, and this," we already see them, you know, at the finish line of the marathon, or, having that baby that they've dreamt of, or nailing that assignment, or whatever it is.
Hmm. Hmm.
So seeing beyond where others see, seeing the potential, knowing that yes, it might take, you know 10,000 steps, but you're able to get there, but you have
Yeah.
to start walking.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The journey of whatever, what is that saying? The journey of a thousand
um,
miles starts with one step, or something, the first step. And it's so true. And we're so resistant, I think, many of us are so resistant just to even taking that first step, right? Taking that
mhm,
first step towards like that unknown future, or that idea that makes no sense at all, right? So 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 you went to Africa, you had this experience, you came back, you're like already looking at how can we make a difference. When you think of like that that first step, like what was that for you?
mm. Well, the first step was simple because I didn't have any high expectations.
Hmm.
I decided to, start fundraising and see if I could raise. Actually, my first donation was $5.
Mm.
And I was so excited because I knew what $5 could do.
Wow. Well, yeah, what could $5 do at that time?
At that time, it could, well, I know a meal was well, 5 cents a meal. So $5
Wow.
was 100 meals
Wow.
at the preschool that I had visited and volunteered at. So to me, $5 was tons.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the demand on myself or the expectation that I had to raise $10,000 or whatever the amount. It was just, let's see what happens. Let's see how much I can raise. And then depending on how much I raise, I can see what can be done. I'll
Mm-hmm.
allocate the money best way
Mm-hmm.
possible. So lowering the demands, or I didn't even have to lower them because I started with nothing. So anything that I would give would be great.
What a great, I mean, what a great like mindset there. Yeah. I think that when we think about like achieving goals or making a difference, we think about like the really huge impact that takes many steps to get there, right? Or like the big thing. I see this all the time with my clients. Like they have these goals or dreams, like starting a business or leaving corporate America or getting married or having children, and they get so focused on like the future where that is, that like they almost get paralyzed with just taking that first step, right? Like you're not getting married, you're not going to leave your job today, or you're not going to start your business today, but what is one step that you can take in service of that? Yeah, like keep it simple, and then just keep moving towards the outcome that you're committed to achieving. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So what has your relationship been to starting this organization? Like before we hit record, you shared that it's kind of like running on its own now. Like you still support it financially, you still fundraise for it, but it's really like it's grown. It's created its own way to self-sustain it essentially. So how has your relationship shifted with your experience?
Well, it shifted in many ways. One, the immediate thought was that the whole experience, everything about it is so much lighter now than it was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the initial 3 months, I purchased land in Kenya. And all of a sudden, I had declared to another organization there that I was going to build an orphanage and a school for them. So
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, my demands went from, yay, $5 to, oh, I need at least $100,000 to pull this off.
Yeah.
But now, having taken all those tiny 4 million steps and doing all the things and processing all the setbacks and all the things that didn't go according to plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then have something amazing come from it, I've been able to, I'm going to rest in the fact that we did it. We're there. Even if I stop now, we've created this oasis for kids. And although they're not self-sufficient yet, they are like managing much, much better than they were.
Yeah.
There's a whole farm. We have animals, we have trees, and we have all this crops, and everything is solar panels. We have our own well. That's even solar panels. Like they will be self-sustained eventually.
Yeah.
So just knowing that even where we are today, they could keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Um so where do you see yourself next? Right? Like when you see your drive for service or to find solutions or to make a difference, like what comes, are you looking at like what's next? Are you even present to that, or are you getting curious about some other ways, or what comes up for you?
Well, 6 months ago, I would have answered this very differently. I would have talked about all the plans I have and all the expansions and all the things I planned. But now being 19 weeks pregnant with my first baby, I'm downsizing everything.
Yeah.
Like, I only have to fundraise, well, actually what I've already created is funding Kiyotani, the school. But I don't actually have to do anything with that for the next, at least a year or so. So focusing more inwards and focusing on my baby, the first kicks, the first heartbeats, the sonograms, then having a baby, that will be my main focus.
Yeah.
Which is also why it's so great that I've, done all the work to be able to say, well, here's funds for 6 months. I'll send another, bunch of funds in another 6 months. So I can be on maternity leave for a year and I only have to make one transaction. And everything
Nice.
in Kenya is run smoothly.
Nice.
So
when you were sharing, I'm like, oh, like, you're getting ready to step in this, the great adventure of motherhood, right? Great adventure of being a parent. And I was like, you've kind of been a mother this whole time to these children, like you think of the characteristics of a mother are like nurturing, supportive, like creating, right? And I just got present to that, so. And I think what a relationship to service, right? That's like being a parent is probably one of the the biggest callings for that, right? At least in my experience, right? It's like I have a 2-year-old son, and it's like everything to be able to I mean, really, like, parenthood is being in service of another human being. It's supporting him and giving him an environment to grow and to thrive, and looking at who I need to be and challenge myself to grow in ways that will be even more supportive of him.
exactly.
Yeah.
And creating that relationship, well, a new relationship with yourself, and then a relationship with your child and getting to know them, and that, to me, that just has to be the top priority.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's more important than that.
Right. I couldn't agree more. There's these little magical beings in our children that come to be with us and to provide for them, is like, I think one of the highest callings as a human, right? As a human being. And I'm so thrilled you get to experience it with your baby. Yeah. Awesome. Well, how can people learn more about you, or learn more about the school, or how they can help?
The best source of information, I would say, where I update the most is either Facebook or Instagram. We have a website, but that's more, the basics.
Sure.
The other social media sites, that's where you get the updates of, oh, today the kids played soccer, and
Nice.
oh, the pig had piglets, or
Love
which
it.
we had 2. We have how many? 35 piglets, I think now.
Wow. Oh God, the kids gotta love that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they even help bottle feed the ones that are, pushed away. And but both on Facebook and Instagram, it's called Sponsors for Kenya. And it has a little elephant in the logo.
Nice. Yeah, yep, see it here. Beautiful. Yeah, so check out Bee's organization, Sponsors for Kenya, both on Facebook, Instagram. That's where you'll get the most up-to-date information. And just the pictures of the kids here, I mean, ear to ear smiles. Like, they're just so happy. And so, yeah, it's just, if you need to feel good about something, or you want to like get a feel good vibe or story, check it out. Like it's incredible. It's incredible. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for following that inner calling, like following and creating solutions where, maybe not everyone can always see it like that. Thanks for making a difference. And thanks for helping so many children. He was also sharing before, uh, we're on video now, and she has a picture of a young girl from the school behind her, and she's in high school now. This was 9 years ago, so this is just an incredible story, and one that's uplifting, and really really making a difference. So check out Sponsors for Kenya. If you want to donate, you can reach out to sponsorsforkenya.org/donate. And you can set up a recurring donation, donate one time, however you want, and it'll go to an extremely good cause. B, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Awesome.
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to paul@worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world is changing. How will you respond?